Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alamin wa afdal as-salatu wa atammu taslim ala Sayyidina Muhammad Rasulih al-Kareem wa sahbihi min al-abad wa shukri al-halaki wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Allahumma faqihna fi din wa limna tawil wa ja'alna min hayrati ummati Sayyidina Muhammad alayhi afdal as-salati wa atammu taslim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Okay, so we'll kick off then. And then anyone else wants to join, let them join. So as we've been doing normally, we'll start off with the hadith, and inshallah today we're going to complete the second hadith of the 40 hadith of Imam Nawawi, the hadith of Jibreel on Islam, Iman and Ihsan. Okay, we spoke about those three aspects: Islam, Iman and Ihsan. I broke it down and gave an explanation on all of them. Inshallah today we're going to finish off by talking about the last part of the hadith where Sayyidina Jibreel alayhi salam asked the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam about the hour, meaning when the judgment, when it's going to, or when the world is going to end, the hour. Okay, so here he said, then tell me about the hour. He said, the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, the one question about it knows no better than the questioner. He said, then tell me about its signs. So that's Sayyidina Jibreel said, tell me about its signs. He sallallahu alayhi wasallam said that the slave girl will give birth to her mistress, and that you will see the barefooted, naked, destitute herdsmen competing in constructing lofty buildings. And at the end of it, then he departed. I tried for a time. The Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, "Oh Umar, do you know who the questioner was?" I said, "Allah and His Messenger know best." He said, "He was Jibreel, who came to you to teach you your religion." Okay, we're just going to talk about that part today. Well, that's going to complete the hadith, inshallah. So, first question is, why ask about the hour or the signs of the hour? After Islam, Iman, and perfecting your deen, knowing about the signs is very important. Signs of Judgment Day, because it's remembrance of death, and remembering that you're going to be questioned. So it's always to come out and then identify the signs. It's something we stop doing, we don't do it. The Prophet ﷺ has given us, these are the signs. And the signs are happening before us here now, but we don't take notice of it. Some of them are like the son speaking to his father from across, from the other side of the world. One of the, I say funny one, but one of the ones about headphones. And the Prophet ﷺ said that people will be. Prophet ﷺ said that people will be dancing with drums on their head. Dancing with drums on their head. And think about it now. Have you seen the big headphones? Or what do they look like? When you put them on, what do they look like? Big drums. And what the people put them on, and then what they do, dance. There's so many signs of the Prophet ﷺ. So the wording is as such, and maybe at that time they would have thought, well, that doesn't make sense. And one of them is that when they're speaking about the fight and the Dajjal and all that, there's one of them is that coming on a plane, well, not a plane, they will be coming on birds, flying in on birds to attack. And you're thinking, what's that meant to mean? Flying in on birds? Birds, planes? What they look like planes? They're like birds. But there's so many signs out there that the Prophet ﷺ mentioned about Judgment Day, and it's for us to kind of think about it more and more, that most of them have taken place. It's only some of the scholars say pretty much all the minor ones have taken place. It's only those big major ones that come right, when you talk about the fog, etc., stuff like that, there's major ones that are going to come about. People spend a lot of time about that part, the first part of that, when asked about the hour. The Prophet ﷺ says that the one questioned about it knows no better than the questioner. Did the Prophet ﷺ know about it? And in Ahl Sunnah wal Jamaat itself, there's a split. Some say that the Prophet ﷺ knew, some say he ﷺ didn't know, some say he knew, he didn't know, but before Allah Ta'ala, before the Prophet ﷺ passed away, Allah Ta'ala revealed it to him. There's so many different interpretations of whether he knew or not, but which for us is like, does it matter? Why do we take something like that and then just argue over it? First of all, who are we to discuss matters like that, discuss the knowledge of the prophets, especially the Prophet ﷺ? You know, who are we to even dwell on stuff like that? One of the awliyas, I can't remember the name now, said that he reached a level past awliya and alifin. He reached a level past that and saw the Prophet ﷺ, and he goes, I nearly burnt. You know, he couldn't bear it. So it's something that he couldn't look further than that. So it's something that we just, it's the matter really. Why dwell on stuff like that? Why discuss it? Think of the point and why it's been said. One of the interpretation that's been taken from this is, well, there's a couple of things actually when we talk about the hour and that statement in itself. One of the ones is the scholar says that it was almost like to put a stop to the Sahaba keep asking about the hour, because they would always ask, when's the hour, and you know, obviously the Prophet ﷺ says that, what have you prepared for it? You know, the famous hadith on it. And after this hadith, the Sahaba never asked about the hour again. That's one interpretation that we come out with. I mean, when you talk about the hour, the Prophet ﷺ mentioned about it's going to be on a Friday, a certain time. There's so many things I've given as examples for it. Others have said that the reason for this is to teach us that if you don't know something, just say you don't know it. You know, I kind of joke with you guys about the test. The point of doing the test in this negative marking is that if you don't know the answer, then mark it down as, or to leave it if you don't know the answer. But if you're going to guess for it, then you're going to get a negative mark. I think when I was doing one of these module tests, there was one question that I was unsure about, and I just left it out. And my teacher asked me later, what would you put down in the answer? Or would have gone for this one, but I wasn't sure. It meant I would have got 100%, but that doesn't make a difference. This is me picking myself up now. That's a good opportunity. But I missed it out because I didn't know the answer. There's no point guessing. But then when it comes to the deen here, if you don't know, you got to think about it. People ask me a lot of questions. If I'm honest with you, I like it when people ask me questions. It just gives me, I think about it, it gives me an opportunity that I've been given a position to answer those questions. You know, I've spent time studying, and then you have to put it to use. So I know people might think, oh, I keep asking him questions. I have some other students as well, they ask me questions. And they always ask me, first of all, sorry, can we ask you a question? And they say, and I say, look, anytime. When it comes to the deen and asking questions on the deen, I'm always available. So people ask me so many questions, but even after giving the answer, if I'm 100% sure, I'll always just go off and check again. Just to settle myself and that, yes, I've given the right answer, because you don't take these things lightly. Yeah, you don't take these things lightly. So one of them was that if you don't know the answer, just say no. A famous one is of Imam Malik. A Bedouin came from really far. Came to Imam Malik. Imam Malik was, it's one of the madhabs, we talk about 4 madhabs. One of the madhabs is the Maliki school. Yeah, Imam Malik spent pretty much all his time in Medina. The only time he left Medina was to go do Hajj. Even then, he didn't want to leave, but then he had a dream and then he left to do Hajj and came straight back. He spent all his time in Medina because he wanted to die in Medina. So Imam Malik, someone came to Imam Malik and said, I've come really far and I've got, I think it was about 40 questions he brought along, and I've got these questions for you. And pretty much all of them, out of the 40, I think they say about, some are saying it was about 4 he answered, some say about 7. So the rest of them, he just said, I don't know. The guy said, I've come this far. Who else is there? What am I going to say to the people when I go back? He said, go and say to them that Imam Malik said, I don't know. That's it. No, he was. If he didn't know, he didn't know. He goes, we'll find out from somewhere, but I don't know. And this is the person that was in a real life position. In that day and age, obviously, you've got talk shows that question answer sessions. Have you ever heard them say, look, we're not sure? Every time the answer will be, maybe alhamdulillah, they obviously know, they're knowledgeable and all that. But no one says nowadays that I don't know the answer. Okay? And Imam Malik, don't forget, you're talking about a person who had memorized over 1 million hadith, and not just about Bukhari and here's the the page number of Bukhari. Imam Malik knew the narrators, the chain of narrators, about those narrators, who they were, all the data around it. He knew all that. But he said and said, I don't know. And that's something we can really take from that and learn from that. Okay, so that was just a bit about that first kind of statement, but now moving on to the actual signs. And the first one was that the slave girl will give birth to her mistress, and that, okay, that's the first one. The slave girl will give birth to her mistress. Now, there's a few interpretations on that. Early ulama, because one thing we learn is that sometimes some of these that we understand them better than early ulama, simply because we've seen it take place in front of us. Not that we've got more knowledge than them. We've seen these things take place in front of us. So that's why we can come out with these statements. So this is one of them, really, because early ulama said that it's a case of some say that it's a case of a man having a child from his slave girl, and then obviously that child, he's free. The slave girl is still a slave. The child becomes the master then of his mother. That's one interpretation. So like I said, this is their thinking of it when they come about it. Because one of the examples we can think of that we see more and more now, one of the hadiths of the Prophet ﷺ mentioning about women wearing clothes like their second skin. How could people like that even interpret that? Women wearing clothes like second skin, what's that meant to mean? But we know now because we see it happening. We see it happening in front of us, women wearing really tight clothes, etc. That's why you class as being second skin. So I'm just giving a bit of an example of what you come about from. The second interpretation of this was that obviously a slave girl giving birth to a child, and then that slave girl being sold and sold and sold, and eventually coming back, and her son buys her, but he doesn't know obviously it's his mother, and that's one. But again, I think Ibn Hajar even gave an explanation on this and said, look, no, those aren't the right ones. And Ibn Hajar gave a real awesome explanation on it, and he said that it's one of the best actually. He said that he believes the interpretation of the hadith is children not respecting their parents. Okay, children not respecting their parents, rebelling against them. So it's almost like making their parents their slaves, shouting and abusing them and getting them to do whatever they need to do. So they almost try to become the master of their parents. And that's the interpretation he's taken from the way they treat their parents, demanding through everything, whatever they want. And I think that's probably one of the best explanations for that. And we see that, we can see it now. And we can link it to that because it is happening now, the way children treat their parents. I mean, alhamdulillah, our society, it's not as bad, but some of the society, it's gone really, really bad to that extent. So you can take that from it. The second part of the hadith, in terms of, you will see barefooted, naked, destitute herdsmen competing, constructing lofty buildings. I really don't need to explain that, do I? You guys know that's happening now. You look at Dubai 20, 30 years ago. Look at Dubai now. Qatar, all these countries, look at them 20, 30 years ago, look at them now. That's exactly what that is. They're just competing to make real big buildings. And that's what it was. That's what it was. There's other interpretation that scholars take from this in terms of your social aspect of it. I don't want to go into too much detail because I only want to spend 10, 15 minutes on it. But you can talk about things like the one in authority, the first part, the one in authority, and have the right people got the authority and who's leading them, etc. The second part, you can talk about when a person who's not intelligent at all, who's got no brain, that they've been given money, how they just abuse the money. They don't know what to do with it. They just start making stupid stuff, etc. Whereas those that are educated, probably they don't have the money. There's a lot of things that you can take out of it, but that'll take a long explanation for that. So we'll leave that. And then finally, finishing off, then Sayyidina Jibreel alayhi salam went away, and literally just disappeared. The Prophet ﷺ, one of the narrations, the Prophet ﷺ sent the Sahaba to call him back. And they went and they were searching, and they don't know where he went. And then the part about when the Prophet ﷺ approached Hazrat Umar. Now this is the case that this took place 3 days later. So it wasn't a matter of there and then the Prophet ﷺ, Hazrat Umar, do you know who that was? No. This took place 3 days later. And one of the things that the scholars take from this is that don't forget this whole hadith is teaching us about knowledge, seeking knowledge, etc. So you take from this that teacher teaching their students shouldn't always just quickly give them the answers. Give them something and let them contemplate over it, think about it themselves. Well, the way we've been taught, I keep referring back to us because then I can bring it back to real life, because when I turn around and tell stories about the Sahaba or great scholars, or you think, well, that's them. When I bring it back down to my level, it's kind of the lowest level possible, yeah. So if he can do it, right, then anyone can do it. The way we've been taught, when we used to ask a question, the teacher used to turn it back onto us and say, "What do you think the answer is?" And they say, "That's your homework." So you say, "Go, okay, be careful about," especially one of the teachers, be careful about what you're asking, because you'll just say, "Okay, bring it down. That's your homework." One of the things we're going to study today is speak on filth. That's a question. He goes, "Yeah, go on, make a full diagram, do all the analysis, and bring it back next week. And if I like it, I can even put it into the notes as well." So this is it, but you think about it yourself, contemplate it, and then the more you think about it, then your question will be a lot more intelligent. But then first of all, it will just be basic, but then when you thought about it, okay, what about this, this, and this, then it becomes more intelligent, the question. So that's what you take from that, is let the student think about it a bit, contemplate what it is, and move forward on that. So that's that's the hadith that it's taken us a few lessons to complete it, but that's a very important hadith, and I think it's good that we're kind of doing this, because you can pick out from it a lot of stuff. Any questions on this? We're finished. So that's the hadith all done now. So any question at all what we discussed on the hadith? No? Okay, that's fine. Okay, next thing I want to do is, because I've been forced not to be here next week, so there won't be a lesson next week. So there might be who that is, whatever it is. There won't be a lesson next week. So Eid is going to take place before we have a lesson now. So I want you to spend a bit of time talking about Eid, and especially talking about Hajj. Well, not Hajj, but just talking about the month that's starting Dhul Hijjah. Okay, so likelihood, and I did get just confirmation actually from someone that the moon has been sighted in, and I wasn't meant to tell this online because I said to them I'm only going to tell them about Eid if they turn up to lesson, but obviously turn it off. I can turn it off now, so these guys can't see. So inshallah, Eid will be on the 1st of September, which is a Friday. Okay, Thursday will be Hajj. Well, there's some France kind of. When did you want it, buddy? We can change it. She's like this. She's like Saturday. Saturday. So I'll see what I can do. Okay, we're gonna try to move it to Saturday, guys. Okay. Yeah. It's okay. Have you discussed everything?
I think it was Sunday.
What day you want? We can switch it to Sunday if you want. I know some places in Saturday they do it 2 days. School starts on Wednesday, so you want it on the Wednesday, so you take it there. Okay, so inshallah, Hajj will be on Thursday. That's 31st. So next Thursday, and Eid will be on Friday, inshallah. But I'll send out confirmations for that. But this is just like, hot off the press. I think Pakistan, they didn't sight the moon. So I think in Pakistan it's Saturday. Unless in Peshawar, I think Peshawar always follows Saturday anyway. So, but yeah, I think in Pakistan it's Saturday. They didn't sight the moon. Friday.
It's Friday.
So tonight from Maghrib, the new month starts, Dhul Hijjah. And I want to talk about that. I want to talk about that because it's very it's one of the months that people don't take that serious. You know, when it comes to Ramadan, etc., we get really pious and we do our worship, whatever it is, which is great. Alhamdulillah, that's very good. Dhul Hijjah is one of the sacred months. Okay, the hadith of the Prophet that talks about the year is 12 months, of which 4 are sacred. 3 are in succession, namely you've got Dhul Hijjah and Muharram, and then the 4th one is Rajab. These are the 4 sacred months. It's also mentioned in the Quran, Surah Al-Fajr, that by the dawn and the 10 nights, and the scholars say the 10 nights that they're talking about is Dhul Hijjah. Here, it's sunnah to fast, right? Apart from the Eid day, which is it's prohibited. You can't fast on the Eid day. The other 9 days, it's sunnah to fast on those, especially on Arafat. I'm just going to talk about a few hadiths on the back of it just to kind of strengthen it. So, one of the hadiths that there are no days more loved to Allah. Day of Arafat, so the 9th, that'll be on the Thursday. Yeah? Day of Arafat, 9th of the Hijjah, that's the Thursday, next Thursday. So there are no days more loved to Allah for you to worship Him therein than the 10 days of Dhul Hijjah. Fasting any day during its equivalent to fasting is equivalent to fasting 1 year, and to offer the Hajjat during one of its nights is like performing the late night prayer on the night of power. And that's narrated by Tirmidhi. These are all the strong hadiths. I'm not going to come out with the strong hadiths because I think that's important. But that's what I tend to do. But even when it comes to something beneficial, in terms of worship, if it's something beneficial, that's when scholars take weak hadiths and that. You can't give a ruling on the back of weak hadiths, but generally, if it comes to something doing good worship, etc., then weak hadiths, they take those as well. Okay. Another one is fasting on the day of Arafat is an expiation of sins for 2 years, the preceding year and the following year. Okay, and that's narrated by Ibn Majah. So many scholars state that the daytimes of these days, these 10 days, the daytime of these days are more virtuous than the daytimes of the last 10 days of Ramadan. So spending the nights in prayer, like I just mentioned, this is about spending nights in prayer. It's very important here. Don't miss out. That's what I'm just trying to say. Don't miss out on all this. Another hadith, there are no days in which good works are more beloved to Allah than these days. Companions ask, not even jihad in the path of Allah, except for the one who goes forth with his person and wealth and does not return with any of it. That's in the Bukhari. And the Prophet ﷺ would not leave 4 matters. Another hadith, Prophet ﷺ would not leave 4 matters. Fasting on Ashura. Ashura, this is Muharram. We will talk about that when we get closer to it. 10 days, 3 days of every month, and the 2 rakats before dawn. Okay. When we talk, so these it's starting from Maghrib tonight. Possible, if you can fast any of these days, by all means do. There's a lot of virtue in it. Not on Eid day. I mean, if you can't fast any of these other days, definitely on the day of Arafat. Okay, definitely on the day of Arafat. The day of Arafat is the day of Dua. That's the day of Dua, day of Arafat. Okay, in the Quran, the ayah of, this day I have perfected your religion and completed my favor upon you, and have approved for you Islam, a religion. And that's Surah Al-Maidah, verse 3. Okay, why have I quoted that? This day I've perfected your religion, because the strong opinion is that this ayah was revealed on the day of Arafat, 9th of Hijjah. This day I've perfected your religion. And when this was narrated, actually there was a Jew, I think it was Sayyidina Umar Farooq. There's a Jew, and said, if we had received an ayah like this, right, we would treat it as an Eid. That's how Allah Ta'ala is making a statement. This day I perfected your religion. And on the day of Arafat. So day of Arafat is real virtuous. Bear that in mind. So if you can't fast on any of the other days, definitely on next Thursday, if possible. I've already sent out a message in terms of if you're doing a sacrifice, if you're giving a sacrifice, it's recommended not to cut your nails or hair during these days prior to your sacrifice. But it's a recommendation, it's recommended, so it's not obligatory. Don't turn around and start forcing upon people. It's recommended to do, it's good to do. So don't forget, when you talk about recommendations, first of all, get the fard element sorted. Sort out your prayers, make up prayers, etc. When you reach the level there, then you move the next step, then the next step, then the next step. So it's good. It's not a matter of leaving anything that's sunnah recommended. That's how you're going to perfect yourself. Slowly. But at the same time, it's not about loading yourself all of a sudden, with everything, and then you're going to leave it. Yeah. So I emphasize on sunnah aspects, but don't turn around and just push it aside and say, oh, it's only a sunnah. It's important. That's how you're going to increase your level. Okay? A couple of more points on Eid then. I spoke about, and I'll send out a message close to the time, the tashriq that we read. So after namaz, you read Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, La ilaha illallah, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Lillahi alhamd. It's wajib on both men and women. And this starts on 9th Dhul Hijjah. So it's going to start next Thursday at Fajr. And it goes up until, so for 5 days, up until Asr prayer on the Monday, I think it is. Yeah, 13th. So starts on the Thursday, Fajr, and it stops. The last prayer you read it on is the Asr prayer on Monday. That should cover off 23 prayers. And like I said, it's wajib for both men and women. Men read it out aloud. So straight after you do your salam, you read it. Men read it out aloud, whether you're praying in congregation, Jamaat, or individually. Women, softly. So from next Thursday, Fajr, and you stop. So the last prayer you read it in is the Asr prayer on the Monday. So that covers 5 days. Thursday, Fajr you stop on the Asr on Monday. Is that okay? Everyone got that? You confused faces, you sure? Okay, so moving on to Eid then. I know as much as we take holidays on the day of Eid, but the day of Eid is actually not a day to take holiday from worship. Okay?
No, what are you just going on about? Sorry.
The tashriq is tashriq, you have to read it. It's wajib. So you're glorifying Allah. That's what you're glorifying Allah. So you're reading Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. You in Big Eid, you always hear it. Allahu Akbar, La ilaha illallah, Allahu Akbar, wa lillahi alhamd. So when you're coming to Eid, you're reading it. When you're going back, when you hear the khutbah on Eid, you always start off with that. That needs to be read from Thursday, Fajr, after every prayer. No, Labbaik's different. Labbaik's for people, Hajj and all that. Yours is, so you'll end up reading it 23 times. No, 3 times, sorry. Three times, yeah. Okay. It's wajib to read it once, but it's not to read it 3 times.
And if you're not praying?
You can still read it because it's still glorification. So really. We'll move on to, actually, because I'm going to move on to the Hayd. Obviously, it's not going to be next week, the week after, but we'll talk about that in more detail, a lot of the stuff on there. Hadith on actual Eid, and this is what people forget a lot about. There's 5 nights when dua is not rejected. There's 5 nights when dua is not rejected. First night of Rajab, 15th Shaban, Thursday nights, and the 2 nights of Eid. So remember, in Islamic calendar, the night comes before the day. So when I said from Maghrib now, the first Dhul Hijjah is going to start from Maghrib now. And then the first Dhul Hijjah day comes tomorrow. Same thing, when it's Eid, the night before the day, that's when Eid starts, and that's the night of Eid. And that's what, people are too busy sitting until 1 in the morning at the barber's getting the haircut, where really you should be worshipping. It's very blessed nights. Ask dua, those are nights that you can ask for dua that are rejected. Okay? Or maybe mothers are making the roast. Maybe we need to cut down on the roast, that's what it is.
You don't eat it.
A glass of milk.
You don't eat it.
Glass of milk. Couple of kujura. Couple of jammy dodgers. We'll do it. Okay, so couple of differences between Eid al-Fitr and Eid al-Adha. Eid al-Fitr it's sunnah to eat before Eid prayer, and Eid al-Adha it's sunnah to delay it. So don't eat before Eid prayer, just delay it after the Eid prayer. Okay. Is there any other questions that you guys got on actual Eid al-Adha? Obviously, it's Eid of sacrifice, and all the sacrifice that you all know the famous story of the Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam and the sacrifices he made. And Allah Ta'ala loved all the actions of Ibrahim alayhi salam so much that, can you see, up until this day, Hajj, what is the Hajj? Pretty much what happens around it is what happened, what the Prophet Ibrahim did. The Safa Marwa was related to the son of Prophet Ibrahim and the wife. So it's all linked to Prophet Ibrahim, Maqam Ibrahim, where you read Nafal, etc. Allah Ta'ala loved, Prophet Ibrahim was known as Halil, beloved, the loved one of Allah, friend of Allah. Any questions?
Can you just repeat that 5 nights with dua?
5 nights when du'as are accepted. First night of Rajab, 15th Shaban, Thursday nights, and then the 2 nights of Eid. Okay? Any other questions? Otherwise, we'll move on to the fiqh. Sorry, I just spoke about people asking questions. I've just had someone trying to ask me a question. We'll answer them later. Okay. No question, then we move on to fiqh then, yeah? Okay, where did you get to? All those paying attention. So have you covered the
Yeah.
Did we cover hoofs?
Yes.
Yeah.
So we did the we got past hoofs.
No.
Yes.
You're wrong.
We did this last time.
You are wrong. Do you remember who you say that? You are wrong.
Mike Tyson.
No.
Muhammad Ali.
It was our teacher at school.
You are right.
What was the name? Mrs. Patricia?
Patricia.
Pritchard, that was it. Science teacher.
Science teacher.
I think she was American.
Yeah.
You are wrong.
Yeah.
Okay, so what we're going to move on to is, normally in the books of fiqh, the way purification is covered, at this point you cover hayd. But what I want to do is I just want to cover the filth, and then inshallah next week, or sorry, the week after, we'll cover hayd. And then if you've got anyone else that will be interested, ask them to come along. I'll try to spend a bit more time on it. I'm sure there's going to be so much questions on it all. what we can do is you can pass on the piece of paper just to save you guys. Okay, so up to this point, when we spoke about filth or when we spoke about purification, we spoke about it being a ritual purification. Something ritually, like when I turned around and said, well, how is it that you make a ghusl, you have to wash yourself completely with water, proper clean yourself. But if you don't have water, you can just get some soil and just wipe it over you, and that's it. You're clean. How is that possible? Because it's ritual purity, not actual. So when we talk about filth here now, we're talking about something that is legally considered impure. Okay. And we talk about it not customary considered impure. Like, what would you say, mud? Is that pure or impure? Impure.
Pure.
Put your hand up if you think it's impure. Mud. Only one.
It's
You just
pure.
said it's impure, then why haven't you put your hand up?
Pure.
Who thinks it's pure?
Is it wet mud or dry mud?
It doesn't matter.
Oh.
Mud becomes mud when it's wet.
That's not
Otherwise it's soil. It's pure. So legally, mud is pure. Okay? Legally, when you come to interpreting legally, mud is pure. Filth can be categorized into two categories. There's heavy filth and there's light filth. And the difference is just based on how much is excused. That's it. That's the difference, how much is excused. So if I'm honest with you, don't worry too much about light filth. Very rarely you're going to come across it. It's generally related to animals, like birds flying over. No, this is just to make life easier. Because if birds flying over and they're always doing the business on you all the time, right, then you're going to struggle. Okay? They do it a lot on my car anyway, so. Okay, so you got heavy and light. Examples of heavy filth, you've got blood, human waste, any human waste, wine, so alcohol, or specific alcohol, and I'll go into more detail in that a bit later. The specific alcohol is impure, including babies urine, you know, like when younger and the little one obviously leaked through the nappy. Go in your hair. It's only a kid, you're fine. No, it's still impure. Yeah?
In the first 40 days,
No.
no,
Baby
it's
urine is
not at all.
no. Yes. Baby urine is impure. If you want, I'll double check on that, but from my understanding, it's impure. Okay. I've never heard of that first 40 days. What happens in the first 40 days?
pure.
Okay. Pre-sexual fluid, that's impure. Excrements of animals that cannot be eaten, impure. That's heavy filth, sorry. Some of the light one is urine of animals, so also horses as well, actually, but no other pets. And birds, that's not excrements of birds, that's light filth as well. The reason why I'm telling you this, it's about if you come in contact with it, how much is excused? Excused in terms of then, can you pray within those clothes or if it's on your body? The amount excused, less than this amount is excused. So for heavy filth, a dirham size or weight, i.e. 5 centimeter diameter. So the way practical, Hanafis are very practical we are, yeah? The way Imam Abu Hanifa would describe it was that you're in a palm. Or the other way is when you put water on your palm and you go like this, whatever stays there, that's the size, which is about that size there, basically. Okay? That's anything there less than that is excused if it's heavy filth. And when you have bits all over the places, whatever the combination is. Okay? A light quarter of a garment, body like a trouser leg or sleeve, like that. Okay? If it's light filth. Now this is important. Like I said, this is important because if you have any filth on you, then you should know, can I pray or not? So blood, let's take an example. You had a nosebleed. Your tissue, nosebleed, and then you go and put it in your pocket and you prayed. That's become part of your clothing. The definition for clothing is anything that moves with your movement. So you've left it in your pocket, that's become part of your clothing. If that tissue of blood is more than 5 centimeters in diameter, then your prayer is invalid. Okay, so you need to know that. I'm going to move on later on. I'm going to explain it. So I'll describe a bit more about filth. But everyone understood that why I'm mentioning this, because when we move on later, we're going to move on to this. We're going to move on to prayer. All of these are preconditions, and when we look to prayer, it'll be a precondition and then a condition of prayer. So wudu is one of the preconditions of prayer. Removing filth, being pure, is one of the preconditions of prayer. So we'll talk about that. It's important. So when I turn around and just put it down as one slide, okay, filth, removing filth, najasa. That's why it's known as najasa. You'll know what I was talking about. How do you remove impurity? So there's two types: there's visible and there's invisible. If it's visible filth, i.e. filth visible when dry, all you need to do is remove the traces of the filth, and that's it. That becomes pure. Okay. If it's invisible, generally speaking, invisible is like something like urine. Once you get dried out, it's going to be invisible. So you wash it 3 times. That's it. That's what you need to wash it 3 times. And there's a sunnah, the reason behind all this, why wash it 3 times? Because remember I spoke about you don't want it to become a mental illness. When I spoke about wudu, you wash something 3 times. That's it. Because then people will become, oh no, there's still a bit there. Like even blood on there. Blood on there, when it dries off or whatever it is, there's still a stain there. Wash it 3 times. Remember when I say wash it 3 times, that's, you can use, Daz and Ariel and all that. But the fiqh ruling is you just need to wash it with water 3 times, that's it. If it's still visible, that's fine. You're pure now. Carry on. Questions? Yeah. So you don't have to wash it with, all this wood water, that's it. And when I say 3 times, you open the tap, you stick it under there for about 5 seconds, that classes at 3 times. So 3 times would be just like, get some water, rub it, more water, rub it, more water, rub it, that's it, that's your 3 times. That doesn't matter. If you wash it 3 times, that's it. Don't forget, look, whenever I tell you something, when we talk about fiqh here, we're talking about legal rulings here. We're not talking about what's best way of doing this and best way of doing that, and ensure that you use this Daz because it comes out with whites, etc. That's fine. It's up to you. I'm talking about legally, for your minimum for you to turn on and pray, you need to do this, and that's it. You wash it 3 times. Doesn't matter if it smells. You can go off and pray. Later on, if you're feeling it smells too much, don't get it washed. I don't care. I'm talking about it shouldn't be a barrier to stop you from praying. Okay. When we studied this, right, my teacher actually went into quite detail, because he said, okay, you tell me a scenario when you say I can't pray. You've gone off shopping. He came out with the proper detail. Like, I don't want to go into that much detail because we haven't got much time left. We've only got about 5-10 minutes. You can't come out with a reason for not praying. If you basically, even if you need to go to the toilet or whatever it is, and I'm going to cover that in terms of removing filth. Sorry, question.
Did you say if it still smells, we carry on playing?
If it smells, that's fine. You can carry on playing.
You won't be disturbing others.
No, so what we're trying to talk here is, so if it means we're talking about something that you've got filth on you, you haven't got much time left, you have to pray. By not praying, you're sinning. So you don't have a reason for not praying. You washed it 3 times, that's sufficient, you can pray. I'm not saying every day turn up to mosque, right, smelling and all that. No, that's not the etiquette of it. Okay? I'm talking about something that you have to do the bare minimum and then you can pray.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, if you miss it, you're sinning. Okay? Question? See, there was this, when washing machines were invented, there was this big hoo-ha about washing machines, because what happens, actually, it's the next slide. I'll explain it better. Let me explain this slide, then I'll go back to washing machines. Remind me. Interesting story on washing machines. When is filth transferred across? When is filth transferred across? So, there's 3 categories here. Both are dry. If both are dry, filth is transferred across if you see traces. So I've got filth on this hand, it's dry. When I do this, it only transfers on this hand if I can see the filth. If I can't see it, it hasn't transferred. You understand that? Yeah? The second one is when one of them is moist. Moist meaning not too wet, one moist. Again, I got filth on this hand which is slightly moist, and I put it onto this hand. If I can see the traces of filth, then it's transferred, otherwise it's not. And then the third one is when one is dripping wet. So let's just take, I don't know, a towel that's dripping wet and it's filth, it's like, I don't know, urine on there, whatever it is. Once that touches something else, I've got a wet towel here, dripping wet, which is filth. As soon as it touches this hand become impure. Okay, so those are three categories there to know when the transfer of filth is. And the reason we're coming back to the washing machine scenario. So washing machine was invented, you know, obviously what washing machines. What I've just said is when it's dripping wet, the filth gets transferred across. So you got filth on some, you know, one of your clothing. You throw it in the washing machine. Water's going to turn, you know, it's going to get wet. So whatever's within that water now, all of it's become filthy. So why do we class as washing machines being pure then? Or cleaning our clothes that are pure? And the scholars actually debated this quite a long time. For quite a long time. They debated, they went back to the manufacturers to get understanding of how these washing machines work. What they said was, you know, when it takes water in and it washes, it's still filthy then. So everything within your washing machine, if there's one impure substance, everything is impure. But then what happens is that water goes out, and then there's this final water, you know, final water that comes in. That's what makes it pure. That final water at the end, that's what makes it pure. And the scholar said, okay, that's fine. The washing machines are fine. So the etiquette of it is best to, if you know you've got something that's filthy, it's best to wash it with hand and then throw it into the washing machine. It's better to do that. Any questions on filth? Sorry, I'm having to speed up a bit because we're having to finish a bit early because of Maghrib today. It's earlier, and I'm probably gonna. I'm guessing Imam's house probably expecting me to do Jamaat downstairs. Probably not going to turn up. So let's see. He hasn't mentioned anything yet, but we have to be prepared. Any questions on filth before we move on? Animals then. All skins may be purified by tanning. So all animal skins are fine except for pig skin. Pig skin cannot be purified. So anything that's pig skin, that's impure. And you got to be particular about shoes. You know, in the soles of shoes, a lot of them are made of pig skin because I think it's a cheap option. And normally, I think it's 3 dots. They have them 3 dots together like that. 3 dots together like this, right? That's the kind of sign of this. This is pig skin. So first of all, it's haram to buy anything that's, you know, that's haram. So you shouldn't be buying pig skin. Obviously, you're not going to pay in it, but just generally, then you shouldn't be wearing as well than pig skin. If you had a leather jacket as pig skin, then all your prayer is nullified.
But if you don't know,
then it's still nullified. When you find out, then you have to repeat that prayer. Okay. And the other thing that's impure is dogs of the excrement and saliva. So I know as much as we used to this legal filth, I know we used to say once a dog touches you, that's it. Believe that, yeah. Yeah. That's not the case. It's only dog saliva and obviously the excrement of dog. Saliva that's impure. That's a legal filth. Okay. Any questions?
So the skin's fine, isn't it? Yeah.
Sorry?
The skin's fine, just like.
Yeah. You can wear dog skin. Even if a dog touches you, that's fine. It's no.
Saliva.
Yeah, that's it. Filth hasn't transferred across on you. Before we move quickly onto toilet manners, what can you purify? What can you use as a purifying agent to purify? So before we spoke about, I went through all this length about water has to be this type of water and rainwater and this, and you can't have this element of it and you can't have that. Because why? We were talking about ritual purity, the different states you're going into. But when it comes to cleaning something that's impure, whatever you can clean, use to clean, you can clean it. You know, it's got in the old books, they even mention stuff like vinegar. You can use vinegar to clean it. So the question here is that, or the answer is just that whatever cleans the impurity. It doesn't matter what you're using, whatever cleans the impurity. I think that's important. So let me just quickly check what time. Okay, we got 5 minutes, so I'm going to have to go on to turbo now. Okay. Toilet manners. Principle: certainty is not lifted by doubt. Initial assumption is where certainty lies. Okay. So when we talk about toilet manners, or remember that as a principle, because I'm going to mention it quite a few times here. I don't want to go into too much detail now. We haven't got time. There's some more important stuff I want to cover. Avoid baseless misgiving. The reason why we follow sunnah actions is that we know for certain we've done it. So the reason why we do wuzu and we follow the sunnah way, not just wash our face and then just quickly touch our head and whatever it is, because later we're going to think, oh, did I do it properly? Did I do 1/4 of my head? If you do the sunnah way, you know definitely you've done it the best way possible, because if it's good enough for the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, it's good enough for us. Okay, so don't follow your doubts and avoid wastefulness. When it comes to toilet manners, you got two aspects here. There's istinja and istibra. The istinja, first of all, generally the terminology and the meaning of it is being free from impurity. We define it as obviously washing yourself with water, but istinja is just to be free from impurity. And it's obligatory to do istinja if you got more than excused amount on your body. Otherwise, it's recommended. Okay, so like you can even, it's sunnah, it's good to use water, but if you haven't got water, you can just clean yourself with tissue paper, or sorry, toilet paper, and that's it. That's enough. Okay, all the times they used to use stones. They've described actually the type of stone you can use. It's not going to be shiny, because then it's not going to clean it properly, not too rough, otherwise you're going to hurt yourself. Leave me thick books, they go into some kind of proper detailed stuff. Okay, so like I said, it's sunnah to use water, but you don't have to. And that's where people don't like that answer, but that's the answer. Okay, the istinja means just to remove impurity. That's the key here. The next one is istibra. That's important for brothers here, mainly. Being free of drops of urine. A hadith of the Prophet ﷺ about the drops are going to take you to the hellfire. Why do you think that's the case? So how are drops going to take you? So think about this. We've just spoke about the excused amount. You've gone to the toilet, right? You've done this istinja. You get up, a few drops fall out, and they fall onto your clothes. It's only a few drops. I just told you the excused amount is 5 centimeters, or just about 5 centimeters. So how are the drops going to lead you to hellfire? So you done istinja, right? You made wudu, a few drops fall out. So you're still within the excused amount. How is that going to lead you to hellfire? Anyone know? I'm mainly looking at the brothers here. It concerns you. It doesn't affect the ladies as much. It's mainly the brothers that it gets affected. No?
Is it for like the next person?
Well, it's on you. Does it make a difference about next person?
Is it because urine is so impure?
Yeah, no, but what's happened though? You know what? I would have loved to spend 5 minutes on you and wait for your answers, but I'm running late. So, remember we covered wudu. What breaks wudu? Anything exiting from your private part. So, you done istinja. You quickly done istinja, rushed quickly done istinja, quickly done wudu, walking around, a few drops falling out. Your wudu broke. You got no idea. You're going to end up start praying, continue praying, doing worship. So you haven't prayed. That's invalid. Okay? So there's many things that when we cover haid for women, they're going to know about their haid, certain things. Same thing with men. You'll know what's best for you. You do istinja, take your time. Some scholars say, some say obviously cough. Some say walk up a bit, whatever it is, wait. Main thing is don't do your wudu immediately. Wait a bit. wait a bit, because if there are a couple of drops that still fall out, it's still within the excused amount. At least then you do your wudu, and then you haven't broken, you haven't broke your wudu. Mine's going to be now.
It's 9.
Any questions before we finish off now? Sorry, I've had to rush that bit. I know, again, it was just a recap. Okay, one of the things that our Mufti Sahib sitting in Birmingham's mentioned about is just this is more for doubts. And if you're getting a lot of doubts, what's going to happen? Now that I told you this, you're going to turn around and go to the toilet. And when you get back up, you're just going to think, have basically a urine falling out, kind of things. The Prophet ﷺ says that get some water and sprinkle it onto your crotch or your underwear to make it wet. So then even if later you're feeling a bit of wetness, to avoid the doubt, oh, it was the water I sprinkled on there. It's not a broken muscle. Because otherwise people go mental over this. They'll go mental over this. So it's a valid point. Okay, I'll mention it now. There you go. Then and dusted. Any questions? No? Any questions? So just remember next week, no lesson. And inshallah the week after, we're going to cover Hayd. And for women, if you can maybe just let them know if anyone wants to additionally attend the lesson. And obviously, the option is to go if you want to ask questions beforehand, and I'll answer them. If you want to send me questions beforehand, I'll write them on a piece of paper and I'll answer them best as possible. جزاك الله خير.